months that that's...
Are we back?
Actually happened, you know?
We're on the air.
Are we?
People are actually looking at us.
Let's clean it up and go on.
Okay. You've made how many films now? Do you know offhand?
About 59, I think.
59 films.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're still making them. You just did one.
Just finished one that opened at the Music Hall.
Yeah.
Radio City Music Hall. I was kind of delighted about that because we were on for Paramount for so long, you know. Everything played the Paramount Theater here, all our first-run films. And I was kind of delighted that they took this film. Of course, they have a little problem getting clean films over there. They play to a family audience, you know.
The Music Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they decided this film is a G. It's sort of an old-fashioned film. You know, nobody takes their clothes off.
And yet you agreed to be...
Just the audience.
Oh,
no, but I'm very flattered by it that they took the film.
we have a bit from it. I saw it earlier, and it looks rough on you. I'd like to ask you how you did some of this stuff. Should you tell us anything about it? It's called Cancel My Reservation.
I know. Yeah, Cancel My Reservation.
Okay. Why don't you roll it, and if there are any questions, we can answer them in the question and answer session right after it. Here it comes. Cancel My Reservation.
Careful, partner. You don't have your brand on that yet.
You're alive.
Only one of us is gonna be if you make another move.
You have to let the horse know who is master. Obviously, this horse knows. We can pick up my stomach on the way back.
All I want is a fair trial.
If it ever comes to trial, you know, the people in this town are mighty sore. Mob rule may prevail.
Mob rule?
Isn't there any justice? Poor fella, he'll do anything to win an Oscar.
Did I see that right?
Yeah.
Gee,
I'll tell you one thing, he's not going to like it either.
Well,
being on your show.
You got a lot of old-timers in that scene.
Dear old John.
That's amazing.
No, we got, in that scene, we got Crosby. I'm supposed, you know, it's a dream where I think I'm... Did you dig what's happening there?
Yeah, it's fantasy
I got
scene.
Crosby standing out there saying, I say, help me, help me. He says, help you? Who do you think bought the rope, you know?
Yeah.
And then John Wayne, I said, is anybody going to help me? And I'm pulling at this thing. And John Wayne says, I'd like to, but it's not my picture.
Your films have always...
I was
going to say, in your movies, you've always called attention to the fact that you're making movies, which I always thought was funny. At the end of The Pale Face, you turn and say, I'd like to see him top this on television. And that was
yeah,
so,
well,
that was way back in
we
the 50s,
started
right?
that in a thing called Favorite Blonde, where Bing played the truck driver, you know, and it's always kind of a surprise, and it's always played well.
Yeah, yeah. You've been... Somebody said that
you see this girl that was in the bed thing?
Yeah.
And the scene about that is because that I went into the house originally and found a dead Indian girl there, see? Mm-hmm. And the sheriff took me down, questioned me, and let me out for a while. I went back and got in bed, and this hand fell across my face. And she'd been using this house. That's the first time I'd been sleeping. This is my house, but she'd been using it, you know. And that's the story right there.
And you shot it on
you
part of it
understand,
on a reservation?
It's not a dirty picture. Hmm?
Was some of it shot on a reservation in Arizona? Or?
No, it was shot at Carefree, Arizona.
Oh,
yeah, beautiful spot.
Yes, I heard that it was very hot there while you were shooting.
It really was. It really some.
You said you saw a rattlesnake holding up a white flag, and you may have forgotten
I was trying
that.
to think of that joke, and you threw it in
I'm
there.
sorry, I got there ahead of you.
I love that.
Have you ever been hurt making a film? Didn't you get hit with
Yes, I have. I was on a prop horse in Fancy Pants, and, you know, they come up close and try to simulate action, you know? Mm-hmm. And the guy loosened the straps too much, and they threw me off 8 feet onto my back on the concrete floor.
On an artificial horse, too?
You know? Yeah, an artificial horse. And they brought in the stretcher, and I came to just as I was going out of the stage door, and I said, take me right to Lakeside Golf Club, please. But they didn't. They took me to the hospital, and I was in there for a few days, but I was all right.
And there was something some years ago, weren't you filming and your hat caught fire? Did that happen?
Oh, I've had so many things happen.
Did
Yeah,
bucket hit you in the head? And
a champagne bucket, you know. Yeah. That was supposed to land like this on it. They changed prop men, you know. And
that's nice.
I forgot to tell the guy exactly where I went, so it hit me on the shoulder. almost killed me.
How's your ad
They have
libbing?
silly ways of dropping your option out there, I'll tell you that.
How much schooling did you get, Bob? Mr. Hope?
Why do you preface that? No, I went to high school and was going into college, and then I went to dancing school, and I got so many offers that I went right into showbiz.
Dancing school?
Yeah.
And didn't you teach it for a
Yeah,
while?
after a while I did. I taught. Geez, you got a nasty memory.
That's right.
You really have.
Well, we've looked into your past.
And I,
Yeah.
were you bitten at all?
No, we didn't uncover anything.
You take a tetanus shot?
I may have to. I know that you took. I know that you fought for a while professionally.
I was
under
not
the name-
professionally, never.
Not
I
professional,
was a
semi-
bad amateur. I fought under the name of Packy East.
That is the weirdest name for a fighter I've ever heard. How did you come up with that?
Well, a friend of mine fought under the name of Packy West. And for a gag, I went down and signed up as Packy East. And I was beautiful. I really was. I fought as Rembrandt East for a while. I was on the canvas so much. You could feel that coming, couldn't you? No, I did.
Were you the only fighter that had to be carried into the ring? That's one of yours, too. I feel terrible.
No, it's not one of mine. It's Joe Williams.
Oh,
Joe
it is?
Williams, a Cleveland Press sports editor, said that I was the only fighter carried both ways,
That's nice.
in and out. But I had a lot of fun doing that.
You know, there was once a review, one of your movies in the London Observer said, Bob Hope's never won an Oscar, and he's gotten a lot of laughs about that over the years. But the fact is, he's one of the best screen actors we have. And it's true, you know, when you, movies where you've had to play a semi-serious scene, like or a completely serious scene, like the Seven Little Boys, something like that. It isn't like a comedian being serious for a moment. It's really, you're really like
No, I think comedians have to understand acting of all kinds, you know, because before you can satirize anything or burlesque it, you have to know what you're doing, you know.
And you're not trained as an actor? You never had acting lessons?
No, but I did get a lot of experience on the stage, you know,
Yeah.
because I was started with a tabloid musical company, and they were amazed. First time I went on to rehearse Roberta, for instance, Jerome Kern and Otto Harbeck said, "How can you walk on the stage?" Because they caught me at the Palace in vaudeville, you know. Yeah. And they said, "How can you walk on the stage and just be at ease and act like that?" I said, "Well, I was with a tab show for 2 years when I started. And I did everything in that show. I did leading man, I did blackface comedy, I do a Russian general, I sang in the quartet, I danced, I played saxophone, very good too. They used to chase me from town to town."
Someone asked if you were going to play the saxophone. They want to know whether
no,
it is...
I'm not. I'm cured.
Well, he's not, and I notice they're not leaving, so there you are.
No, but that's the thing that everybody should do if they want to, you know, really go into pictures or anything, get that kind of experience.
Did they give you any advice when you started to make a film? Did they say, now you come from the stage, and of course you'll act in a different way, but in the movies it's all different. Is there any trick to that?
You know, you're leading me into something, and you're very good, you know.
Am I?
Yes, you are. You know that Mitchell Lyson, the director of our first picture, took me over across the street from Paramount to Lucy's Restaurant. And he said, "I know you've been on the stage for a long time, but I want to tell you, in pictures, you work with your eyes, you act with your eyes." And that's all he had to tell me, because I went right back to the stage. The first thing I did in pictures was Thanks to the Memory, and I threw my eyes all over the set. Some of the grips were catching them upstairs, you know. And I was, "Thanks for the memory." And you can see it, if you ever see big broadcasts in 1938, dig my eyeballs, man. They change sockets once in a while. I want to
Act with your eyes.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Well, it really is the thing. If you do act with your eyes, as you know.
But you were overacting with your eyes.
Yeah, you can, but I was really rolling them around there.
You're right, I was leading you into something. I remember reading that years ago in a old New York Post article about you. They said act with your eyes, and I always want to know what they meant by it, and I've watched eyes in the movies ever since then. That's interesting. Can you hold on for just a moment? We have a message, and we'll be back.